So let's start the DOV session.
So before I start the introduction, whatever, can we start with an icebreaker? So, and please don't nod your head because, as I said, I don't see anything but my presentation, and I don't have a dual monitor. So the icebreaker I suggest is for everyone to turn their microphone on, and we'll do a 1 minute sing-along or a 30-second sing-along. Are you ready? So everyone, your microphone's on. And let's go. 1, 2, 3. Row,
Row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. I've got a dream. Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream.
Okay. Okay. So that was a warm-up. I'll get to it later. What I'm going to talk about today, first let's talk about me, my favorite topic. So my name is Dov, as you know, because it was mentioned. You can find out about me in my new website, which is really badly maintained. So all comments and criticism is welcome. And basically, you probably don't know all 4 aspects of me. And today we're going to focus on one. So one is I'm an agile coach, as you said already, and I take both words quite seriously. So for me, agility is not a set of practices, which I'm sure all of you agree with. And coaching is not training. Coaching is not teaching. Coaching is accompanying someone in their path and trying to help them improve themselves as they see fit and not as you see fit. Another thing which is important, and I have a podcast about this, is a connection to Taoism. So I've talked a lot about Taoism, and I would love to be invited to talk about Taoism as well and its connection to agility. You're welcome to visit my podcast. This is not the focus of this talk today. The talk today is about how to improve meeting culture, and this comes as part of my third hat, which is a collaboration superpowers facilitator, under which I help accompany teams and organizations and people in how to work better remotely, how to work better with a team, how to conduct better meetings, which will be the focus of the talk today, and also created something which I will present today, which is called the Meeting Spicer. And what I will show today is an online version which is dedicated to remote working. Questions so far?
No questions so far from anyone.
Okay. So a small overview of the workshop that I usually run. It consists of 4 parts. One is how do we create a team agreement for teams that work remotely, the teams that have to reboot, and avoid basic misunderstandings. And the exercise that we just did is part of it, because I don't know if it surprised any of you, but the synchronization that we tried to achieve when singing was, for my criteria, terrible. And this is because part of the rules of the communication changed, and we're not often aware of it. The delay, the small delay that we see or that we hear when we talk to each other is a very important factor. When I say something and I don't see you nod immediately, I feel like you misunderstood me, while the only problem is that it takes time for you to hear me and it takes time for me to see you back. So this is a part of a bigger model of avoiding misunderstandings as a team. Another thing is, how do we collaborate online? So we have a lot of practices to collaborate when we work in an office, but when we work remotely, we lose a sense of a team. I don't work near you anymore. I have my own private space, you have your own private space. Our physical means of sharing stuff is lost. How do we recover this, and how do we improve this? Because it's not only lost, but the context has changed. We have a lot of new tools which we have to understand. The main part of the talk today will be how to host problem-free online meetings, how to create meetings which are impactful. And this is related also, this is why I joined the Collaboration Superpowers in the first place, because I dedicated about 4 years or 5 years in creating tools of improving meetings. I think that meetings are I can't understate the importance of meetings in creating a team sense and having impact. And unlike a lot of people who want to eliminate meetings, I would love to make meetings count, to make meetings more important. And the last module, which we'll touch a little bit on today, is how to give and receive feedback and inspire continuous improvement. But let's move into the main part of the talk today, which is how do we host problem-free online meetings where everyone contributes. Let's start by a 20-second exercise where I invite you to take 20 seconds and just think silently and perhaps write it down. What outcome do you expect from this meeting? What outcome do you expect from these following 30, 40 minutes? And also, what outcome would you love to have? So I would love you to at least think, and if possible, write down 2 sentences which you could review at the end of the meeting and see how well did we achieve this result. And another thing that I would love you to do during the meeting, once you wrote this down, is if you see that the session is not going your way, write down a small comment, and perhaps Priyank will tell me where can we shift to make the session work better for you. So 20 seconds of silence. Okay. I hope you all wrote something.
Yeah. We started getting inputs in chat. Anyone who is...
So I can't read the chat, but if you see anything interesting, don't hesitate interrupting me. Okay?
Yeah. So I got one, which is the first input is from Chandra. Harmony and synchronization achieved and help in productive in execution and team. Helps in productive in execution and team. That's an interesting thought process. We're getting a lot of chat. Okay, so I can read it. Couple of those for you, not all. So second one is from Rakesh Chandra Goyal. He's saying effectiveness of an online collaboration. Mm-hmm. And then we got another one from Anil Goswami. He's saying we wish to add value and add knowledge in the topic displayed and more clarity. Anil, next person is saying, I am thinking I will learn process improvement and more productive and self-organize after this session.
Okay, so I suggest we cut it here, and I'll say something about this in a second. I'll tell you first my goal for this time. I would love to do anything that I can to make this time, to dedicate this time to make you a better facilitator. So if you get out of this talk feeling that you can facilitate team's work and a meeting better, I've had my goal achieved. And for this, as I said before, I need your help. And
right.
part of
it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense if I invest my 30 minutes and at the end I am an effective facilitator. Yeah. An online.
So when I say that I need your help, the help is in being an active player. And active doesn't necessarily mean that you talk or that you write, but that you exist, that you listen carefully, that you reflect, and if something is not going your way, then react. And this will help us both achieve this goal. Okay. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about meetings. The first thing that I want to say, because it will eliminate a lot of things that you may say, there's no one right way to do anything, not one right way to do a team agreement, not one right way for a team to work, for sure not one way to do an effective meeting. The idea is the only right way, I think, is to react, is to understand what's going wrong and to use your toolbox to make it better. And the key, I usually, when I do the session, I do it much longer and I ask people, what is, in your opinion, the key for a good and effective meeting? And for me, the key is not, as a lot of people say, to have a goal or to start on time or to invite the right people or to have action items or stuff like this. Because a lot of excellent meetings can work without a goal, can have a goal that is emerging or have a goal that is implicit, a goal that is just you meet someone and at the end you say, you know what, I had a great time. A lot of meetings that don't start on time are great meetings, and a lot of meetings that start on time suck big time. The only thing that is important, in my opinion, and as I said before, there's no right way, there's no right answer, but in my opinion, is presence. Is for the people who attend a meeting, be it an online meeting, an offline meeting, is to be present where they are, to dedicate their complete self as much as possible to address what is happening in the room. And there is one more entity which is important for the presence, and this is the presence of the whole team. So it's not enough that everyone brings their own, but also that everyone lets this presence of the group of people who want to achieve something, who want to change something, emerge. And as this slide, I think most of you are coaches, so I don't have to say it, but in case there is someone who is more of an old style manager, presence can't be forced. You can't force people to be present. It has to be earned, and it's earned through trust. It's earned through you believing that the people who come want to bring themselves and not to tell them, you bring yourself. It's earned through example. And the best way to learn, by the way, anything is through example, is not through explanation, is by showing and modeling what you want people to do. And by communication. So if you want people to change their behavior, you can explain this explicitly, because sometimes people don't see what's obvious to you. And now I'd like to do a short demo. So finally, I will get to have a video and show your face and see your face of the Meeting Spicer, which is the tool I created, but also of another new tool that perhaps most of you didn't see. Let's see. Stop sharing. Do you see me? A few words about this before I dive into the demo. So the Meeting Spicer is a tool that is based on a few principles. One of them is the principle of micro-learning. And by micro-learning, I mean have exercises that are short and painless. You know, it's like just like exercising for 2 minutes every day can lead to big results, more than doing a marathon and then not doing anything for 5 years. So it's a set of exercises that take half a minute. Most, I think all of the exercises are non-judgmental, so I can ask you, did you start on time? But I'm not saying that starting on time is important or not. They're not personal, so we try not to insult anyone and not to say you are not doing anything good. They change all the time, and they're difficulty-minded, so I'll show you what I mean. In fact, it's a set of practices like this one. Do you see my camera?
Yes, we can see that very well.
Okay. And for example, you can start a meeting by, let's pick a short one. Okay, so this is one exercise. Okay, let's try this today. A thank you card. This card stays on the table. Pass it to someone if you like what they say. So if you started and you got this card, now you put the card on the table. And today people thank each other by using this card, by using a token that encourages them to be thankful. Or it can be this one. Let's try this today. Say in a theatrical voice, thank you all for coming. Now let's have some fun. Because sometimes people don't do that. And it's a lot of practices of different sorts and level of difficulty. And what I want to say about difficulty, as you see, there is a yellow pepper here. There is a red pepper here. So they're sorted by levels of comfort, if you want. And it also contains cards that are dedicated to the end of the meeting. So just like you start a meeting, you can end the meeting by doing this. For example, ask someone to think silently for 20 seconds. Who facilitated this meeting? And you can thank them on your way out. So really short practices that allow you to check in and check out. And the main thing that I want to show now is how to use this thing online. So we created an online free version, and this is why I dare talk about it, because the purpose is not to sell the tool, but to show you something that you can use. This is a file. I have it in English. We have it in other languages, but unfortunately, no one volunteered yet to translate it to Hindi or to a language that's more comfortable for you, but I guess English would be enough. So this is the board game. And when you start a meeting, you can roll a set of dice. And let's say that you got 3 and 6. So currently, you start the meeting by doing this. Ask someone on a different site, will the meeting have a summary? Do we need one? And if so, who will write it? So Priyank, will this meeting have a summary?
So far, I believe yes. I think there would be a summary at the end.
Okay, do we need one?
I got it. I think yes, we don't have yet, but I assume there would be a summary.
Why do we need it?
To take back something home, we want to learn something at the end, right?
Okay, and who will write it?
I believe I will write it for myself.
Okay, so this is a way to start a meeting that focuses you on one aspect on having the meeting of today. As you saw, we collected 18 different practices that are suitable for remote meetings. So this one, you see, we say, ask someone in a different site. So we also try to connect sites that are remote. Or we can do randomly this one. Ask someone to think silently for 20 seconds. Am I ready for this meeting, and how did I prepare? And now you launch into a 20 seconds of silence, just like you saw before. And it's a great way to start a meeting in a mindful way and practice something that sometimes, as you saw, is not comfortable, but doesn't take time and focuses people on a dynamic of a meeting. And of course, as I saw you in the physical cards, we have a set to end the meeting. So when you end the meeting, again, we can roll the dice. And we have 5, 4 now. So 5 and 4, we can end by saying this in our imaginary meeting. It's not the meeting we have now. Let's try this today. Before leaving, schedule the next meeting and ask all sites to book the meeting rooms. If not relevant, roll again. So this is a game, an activity that is already translated into 4 languages, and we get a lot of good feedback on it, and you can download it for free on the site of Tsal.com. And now back to the slides presentation. Questions so far, by the way. Let's take at least one question.
So we can download it for free?
Yes.
Okay.
in the site. Otherwise, I wouldn't present it. Tsal.com, you have an option to download it. And if you're interested in Hebrew or Spanish, or what else, or French, you can download it again. But I guess the English would be the most useful for you.
Thank you.
Okay. And now I've tried to collect a set of advice, good practices, tips and tricks to make your meetings better, and I classified it by the different phases of a meeting. So before you even start planning the meeting, there are 4 things that I would suggest you to do. First thing, which I think is the most important, is connect to your purpose. And by the way, all of these are connected to what I said before, which is connecting to the presence. So before you ask people to join, please understand what is their purpose in joining. Why do you want to bother them and summon them to help you? And to do this, the practice that I use a lot, and I invite you to use as well, is to ask 3 whys. So why are we having this session now? Because I would like to make you better facilitators. Why would I like you to make you better facilitators? Because I feel that meetings are frustrating and we lose a lot of energy. And why do I want to address the problem of energy, of lost energy in meetings and organizations? Because I feel that the world today is not in a good place, and anything we can do to make our use of our concentration and energy better is a good cause. And now that I understand this, I can allow the meeting that we have currently to divert to different places, because I know what is the deeper purpose of this meeting. And if I can't find the 3 whys, perhaps the meeting is not in order. So I'll give you an example that I'm sure all of you have from time to time in your agenda: periodic status report, right? So when someone plans a status report, I'm not saying you don't need it, but ask yourself, why do I need a status report? And if I need a status report, for example, so I know what's going on, why do I need to know what's going on? Because I don't trust people, because I have to make decisions. And ask yourself a few times so it's clear. And once you're convinced that you understand the goal, my next advice would be to consider alternatives. Because perhaps if your goal is to understand what's going on, a meeting is not the best tool to do it. And it's too costly and not effective enough. Perhaps you can share a document where everyone can write their status, and you don't have to coordinate everyone to be at the same time in the same virtual or not virtual room. And there's a lot of tools to do this. So there's Google Docs, there's surveys, there's, God forbid, emails, there's chat, there's Slack. There's a lot of tools that allow you to gather information and disperse information without having the need of a meeting. And even one tool that I think is not used enough, you can record a short video. If you want to update people on something, you can record a video and send it to everyone to see. One other thing which is really important is to reconsider the definition of an invite. When you invite people to a meeting, do you really invite them or do you order them to come? And I would invite you, here is the word, to treat an invite just like you treat an invite to a party. And when someone doesn't come to your party, you don't fire them and you don't do any sanctions against them. You tell them, I have a party this Friday. Come if you can and if you want to. And if not, I'm interested to know why you didn't come. And you can discover a lot of things by explicitly using this definition of an invite and seeing what happens. And a lot of people had interesting insights. By the way, first time I heard about this was in a session we had with Daniel Mezik with Prignac, where he talked about the power of invitation. So if you want to learn more about the power of invitation, look up Daniel Mezik. Another thing is design your meeting. So before you start, if you already decided that you have a meeting and you're connected to the purpose, design it well. And first thing is keep it short. And I want to say something about what I wrote here, the 30-minute limit. There is a study done in NASA that says that people after 30 minutes have to have some change. So it's not necessarily that you have to cut the meeting after 30 minutes, but you can do a 2-minute pause, or you can have an icebreaker, or you can do one exercise that we have in the cards, but it works only in physical space. Ask everyone to get up and change places. Do something to break the monotony, to help people change perspective. Plan the support. So in this case, you see I have slides, but slides are not the only way to do a meeting. So I can show you, I sometimes do the same session as a mind map. So I have this whole meeting as a mind map where I have an intro and I have the different sections, and each one of them I can open, if I know how, yes. And don't stick to the idea that the only way to present is using PowerPoint. Sometimes a Word document or just a whiteboard that is shared is enough. Invite the right people. And this means also don't invite the people who you think are not relevant. And of course, consider the word invite and plan for recording. And this is another tip which is really important and interesting, and not a lot of people do that. If you have a meeting and someone can't be present, a recording is a really useful tool for them to review and understand what happened and perhaps send their inputs. And it's also useful because through the magic of technology, currently you can skip the parts that are not relevant to you. You can play a recording and 1.5 speed if people talk too slowly, and you can gain a lot by skimming through a recording. So that was before the meeting. Questions so far?
In the chat,
As
we
I
don't
can,
have anything.
yes.
No.
Okay. So now let's focus on what we can do during as a meeting, and I split it as what we can do as facilitators and what other people can do. So one thing we can do as facilitators is, and this is important, and this is what I try to do, is start with an icebreaker, and we can try another one now if you want. And the importance of an icebreaker, I'm just trying to stop the sharing so that I can get back to you and see your faces. The importance of an icebreaker. I'm listening.
Can I please?
Come where?
So, yeah. You see, I want to ask you. You told about this energizer or icebreaker are same thing. Icebreaker and energizer.
Yeah.
So, icebreaker and energizer. So, is it same?
So there are nuances, but what I want to say, icebreaker is more when people are rigid, you help them to break the ice if you want. And energizer is when people lack energy. But the idea, and that's what I wanted to say, the importance of these exercises is to help you check in and mainly help you talk, have a voice. Because once you talk, the chances that you will be involved in the meeting is much higher. if you have a voice, if you feel that you're present, and like I'll do a small energizer now to show you, you're more connected to the people around you and to where you are. So whoever wants to join the Icebreaker, can you open your audio and your video, please? Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass a ball between you. So Prignac,
Yes.
I'm going to throw a ball, and you have to throw the ball to someone else, but you have up to 3 seconds, and if not, you lose. Okay? So we just throw a ball from one to the other. So Prignac, catch. And what you do, when you catch, you call the name of someone else who has the camera on, and you throw the ball to them. Prignac, here.
Ravi.
So,
Ravi is not attentive. He lost the ball.
okay, so he lost the ball, throw to someone else. So if you lose the ball, turn off your camera. So who throws the ball now?
I am throwing the ball to Priyank. Yeah. Ravi.
Anil Kumar.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to Atul.
I'm throwing to Ajay.
Okay, so this is just to introduce to you another sort of icebreaker or warm-up or something like this that energizes people, makes them talk, and connects them to this group. And once you did this, you suddenly wake up. All right? And there's a huge collection of warm-up games or icebreakers or whatever you want to call them that allows you to do this. What I would advise you when you choose an icebreaker, try to think also about the purpose of your meeting. Is it suitable for the audience and for the topic? Because another icebreaker or exercise which is connected to the game is, as I said, these cards which try also to connect you to the topic. So when I ask you to think silently for 20 seconds, what do you want to achieve? It's a sort of meditation that connects you as well, but it also connects you to the topic that we're going to talk about. Let's get back to the presentation. Okay. All right. So first thing, as I said, is icebreakers, and we did that. Second one, which is important and not a lot of people do, is define the facilitators. The fact that you hold a meeting doesn't mean that you have to take care of everything from A to Z. As you saw, I asked Prignac to take care of the timekeeping, to take care of the feedback of people for me. I don't have to present and listen to people and take care of the time. I will get lost there and I will do all jobs miserably instead of doing the job that I want to do as best as I can.
So you have 8 minutes on the same note.
Thanks a lot. 8 minutes is not a lot. I'll try to move fast. Okay. During the meeting, one other thing, as I said, is keep it short and plan breaks. And another thing is facilitators, remember all the time to be present and allow yourself to connect to what's going on and to change plans. So perhaps now I will not do everything that I wanted, and I know that I have 8 minutes. As participants, there's 6 things that I would like you to share with your participants and make sure that they do the best they can, is to be seen, be heard, to see, to hear, to communicate visually, and to take care of the closure. When I say be seen, it's this thing. Have the camera on, have proper lighting. So how many of you know this image of a witness protection program of people who talk and they have light behind them and you see nothing? Ask people to be in a place where they're seen and to look at the camera. So a lot of times I see the video here and the camera is over here, and when I talk to you, in fact, it looks like I'm not. So make sure that the people you talk to are right below your camera so it looks like you look at them. be heard. Okay, so it's a good timing, right? Okay, so do you still see the screen? I guess so. Have the sound on, and when I said I have the sound on, I was disconnected. And one other thing that I discovered is an application called Crisp that filters background noises. So I'll show you a small demo. Do you hear me now? Do you hear now the taps that I do on my cheek? Yes, no?
Yes, we can hear that.
You can hear that. Now let's turn on Crisp. Yeah.
Though your my
Do you
Bluetooth headphone is too good.
Yeah. Do you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
is there a difference?
It's a bit slower. You can try a little harder.
Okay. Yeah. And now?
No.
Okay. And this is the power of Crisp. So Crisp, it filters out noises that it can be barks of dogs, construction site, stuff like this. It's a software that you have to pay for. You have like 1 hour a day for free, I think, something like that. And it's a very effective piece of software to filter background noises. If you have kids, if you have noises around the house, it filters all of this out. The other thing is, now we talked about being seen and being heard. Now is to see and to hear. So what I advise you to do is to see when you have the view in Zoom or in Google of everyone at the same time, because what happens is when you say something, you see a wave of people that say yes or say no, and you have a global vision. If I talked before about the presence of the whole team, you have a very precise vision of this animal called a team and how they react. And when you see the difference between this and this, between seeing people and the facial expressions as a whole, as a puzzle, or seeing nothing when people don't turn on the camera, you see how easier it is to communicate to this and not to this. Go fast. To hear is good headphones, and again, Crisp, because Crisp doesn't only filter the noises that I have, it also filters for me the noises that you have. And by the way, I heard that in the new version of Google Meetup or Talks or whatever, they embedded a noise filtering system inside it. Look it up. So I didn't test it yet, but I heard that it exists. One excellent tip that I found is for people to write down cards like this, which allow you to communicate visually. So you can signal you're on mute, or please mute yourself, or yes or no, or in a case of a clash of people, and it happens much more in online meetings than in real meetings, because as we saw, there's a delay. You can say, you start first, or I want to add something, or could you repeat this, or the Elmo, do you know the Elmo? Enough, let's move on. And this is a card that you can use. Get the permission of the team for this, because it can be insulting. A card that says, can we move to the other topic? I'll be right back. I have to go. You have background noise. I can't hear you. You're frozen. There's connection trouble. Do a small workshop for your people to draw this, or send it to print. It will facilitate the communication, because a visual channel, unlike an audio channel, is something that you can do in parallel. And the last thing is, when you close the meeting, ask people two things. One, what did we learn? And two, what's next? So what did we learn in the aspect of, I don't have a slide for this. What did we learn today? How did we grow? And what are our next action items? And what you can do after the meeting is, one, thank the people who dedicated the time and came. And even a small note or an email comes a long way. Follow up on your actions. and take some time to think, what did I learn this time to improve my meetings for the next time? So this learning is a learning which is a meta learning of the mechanisms that you use. This is a small, really small sample of what I'm going through in the workshop, and just a taste of the other aspects of the workshop is one, a team agreement. So this is a team canvas. I don't know if you know this. When you reboot a team, or when you create a team, it's a very powerful tool to help the team define itself. So you allow everyone to write down what are their names and roles, what are common goals, what are values, what are the rules that we follow, what is our needs, what our personal goals are, what is our purpose, strengths, etc. And this is something that I advise you to do and repeat at least every 2 or 3 months. Go back to the team canvas and update it as needed. And one advice that is important, one, of course, once you're forced to work at home, it's a totally new team, and treat it as such, because the rules have changed, the goals have changed, the people have changed. And the other thing is, whenever someone joins or leaves your team, treat it as a new team and reboot your agreements and your definitions as frequently as needed. And about collaboration, this is a great tool that I don't know if you know or not. One of the problems that teams have when they are dispersed is that the sense of physical proximity is lost. And this is a type of a service, and there's a few like this, that allows you to rent a virtual office and to say, I sit here, and if someone wants to work with me, they can sit with me. And now if we put our headphones, we hear each other. So we don't have a microphone open where everyone hears everyone, but I can speak freely only to the people in the room. I can share a video with people in the room. I can close the door, by the way, so no one can come in, or that someone who comes in can knock. We can share a document, and it's divided by rooms. And if I'm out, I can say that I'm in the kitchen now, I'm eating. So if anyone wants to join me in the kitchen, they can join me. And it's a fun way, and there's lots of tools for different levels of virtualization to help teams gather their togetherness, if you want. And the last aspect that I want to talk about is about feedback. So it's not, I wrote the slides yesterday evening. When you have to talk to someone, please remember that not all mediums are created equal. Text is great if you want to convey information, but if you have to say something or to receive feedback that is emotionally charged, and it can be good or bad, a text is not a good medium to do this. And I invite you to use as rich a medium as you can, which is, of course, video and audio. If you could have smelling receptors would be great as well. Technology is not there yet. And the last tip for today is, when you get back to the office, please remember to treat remote people the same way as you treat co-located. And sometimes a way to do this is, when you have a meeting, even if half of the team is in the building, to have the meeting online anyway, and have people join online, so there's an equality between the people who meet. Because otherwise the people who are remote feel neglected. And another tip that I can share with you is, if you can do that, to assign for each remote person someone in the room who has a private chat with them and makes sure they are connected, and if they have questions, to bring it into the room. So for the last part of the session, Priyank, how much time do I have?
You have -4 minutes already.
Okay, so can I have -3 more minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just to recap what we learned today. Where is it here? Yes, okay. So yes, here. Okay, and I would like to switch a tool so you see how to work in another tool. One, to share your purpose with the people. To use an energizer. To have a clear and transparent, but also a flexible plan. To help people think and be involved. So the reason that I asked you what you expect is not only to hear it, but also to force you to think, what do you want from this session? And to drag you in. So it's less to have an answer and more to involve you. Allow working in parallel. You don't have to do all of your meeting online. You can do a big part of it offline, before or after, or even instead. Help people speak. We talked about that. Some presentation techniques. So as you see, you have this, you have slides, you have docs. Help people be seen. Time boxing techniques I didn't talk about presence. And one big tip, I think, is the co-facilitation, is to delegate facilitation to other people. Online timer I didn't talk about, perhaps next time. And yes, okay. And that's it. Thanks a lot. And if you have any question, now is the time, because I gained 2 more minutes.
So I can tell you from the chat, so far we have one critical question asked by Sudipta. If you want to read by yourself, it would be much easier, but then I'll read it for you. Sudipta, you can unmute and can speak as well. I can read it for you otherwise. So
go ahead, Priyank.
Yeah, so he's saying one observation that meeting fall into 2 key buckets: regular planning meetings, and my understanding is that people know the objective, the format and the working agreement. For the other bucket of meeting, I agree that should be an agenda and a working agreement quickly put into the place. So that's an observation, and if you want to answer that. So we have
I don't understand. Can you repeat, perhaps in your words? Can you instead of having a mediator, can you explain what's the question?
Sure, Dov. So what I was trying to highlight is that I see meetings fall in 2 buckets. One is a set of regular buckets, which I think, at least in my scenario, are the most of the meetings, which are regular recurring meetings at a certain frequency. I think in those meetings, there is an agenda and a structure and a format, and the participants, that is pretty clear. That has just been honed over a period of time. Yeah. But I do agree with you that there are some, obviously, meetings that are scheduled on the fly. And clearly, it would help in those meetings, at least, to be able to very quickly set an objective and a working agreement, and even put an energizer to make sure that, yes, everybody is actively engaged in that meeting. That's all. Yeah. I wanted to share, whether you have a different thought.
So I would say that the boundaries are not that clear. A recurring meeting that takes an hour needs an energizer anyway, I think, and needs a break in the middle anyway. And a lot of times when you have, I love, nice. And a lot of times when you have recurring meetings, you fall into a rut. And I think recurring meetings are the meetings that need challenging the most, that need to see if you still need an hour to do this meeting. Is it really important to do the habits that you do every time? Even in a real office, in a recurring meeting, what happens a lot, and I would invite you to practice it, is that people have their own sitting place. Everyone knows exactly in this meeting, in this room, where do they sit when he meets these people. And when you break this, you suddenly get a different energy. You get people who are more awake. When you break the conventions of normal meetings, you get a much more interesting thing. And not only this, a lot of recurring meetings are there for a purpose that sometimes doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know. Think of the two contradicting words: innovation committee. How many innovations does a committee that meet every month can produce after 12 months? I would guess none, and they fall into bureaucratical procedures. So I think in these sorts of meetings, it's more important to challenge the structure than in meetings that, as you say, are emerging. And on the other hand, in emerging meetings, it's important to make the agenda explicit anyway, if you can, to say, okay, so we're meeting here now for 1 hour. What I suggest is that I give you 5-minute introduction of what I expect from you. Then we do brainstorming 20 minutes and write down on the board what you expect from this meeting and help people tweak it. You will get a much better involvement and energy from the team. My personal opinion.
So thanks for sharing that, though. We can take one more question and then we can close for the session. So Sanjeev got another question for you. How do you find the right people to invite? Do you have any method, tool, or recommendation which can be worked through to invite the right people? You said invite the right people in the presentation.
Yeah, so I would go back to the definition of invite. I would first be clear on my purpose, and then invite people to come if they're connected to my purpose. So I can send it to everyone in the organization and say, my goal is to see how we improve work at home. And you get people who will surprise you. And all the people who will come will be motivated, because only the people who are connected to the topic will come. So I would say have a clear vision of what you want and allow people to self-select themselves.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Ado, and thank you very much for sharing that. We love hearing every time from you. Looking forward for more sessions and events coming from your end.